Hello, welcome to the Mac Show. Yes, we're back after our summer recess. Nearly weren't. We were nearly on time, but then 45 minutes later we realised we weren't. Because thanks to WarwickNet, they've got their own IP range, which isn't the same as Virgin Media's, obviously. So then I've had to go through and manually change all of the computers so that they run off DHCP, which means then I don't have all the fixed IPs that I've got in Wirecast, so I've had to read all those. And these four gentlemen have been extraordinarily patient while I went through all that crap. Plus, I bought myself a microphone that was going to get rid of all of the echo potentially in the studio, and it got delivered to my next door neighbour while I wasn't there today, and they've gone out. So, not a day to be me, I'm afraid. Joining me to discuss the week in Apple, the whole summer and everything that's gone on. Top left, Rumpelstiltskin himself, the man with the iron legs. And he looks a bit sorry for himself, doesn't he? You don't look well, dude. How are you doing? You've had surgery, haven't you?
Yeah, and it's just painful. When I did the same surgery like 15 years ago, I swear I was on my feet in like a week. But somewhere between old age and God knows what, it's not working like that. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, you do look like you're struggling, mate. Have you got an armchair there, or is that just like an office chair?
No, it's a big, fluffy, cushiony, lounger. Like new book lounger.
So you're not going in the workplace. You're in the apartment then.
Yeah.
Yeah, good man. Well done.
That's why we have a low quality stream.
Excellent, mate. Thank you for coming along. Next to him, it's Adam, the man who knows a long story about backing up stuff. You're frozen too. Jolly good. That's actually a really good frozen
no,
face.
I'm kidding.
No, I know, but that was really well done, mate. You had me for a second. Bastard. You had a good summer, mate.
I'm doing good.
Have you had a good summer?
Yeah, it's been busy.
Yeah, and you've had backup woes, which we're not going to go into because that's going to be the next episode of MacCast, isn't it?
Yeah, that should be out today. If people have been following me on Twitter, they have some idea, and Chuck knows all about it because he provided some needed backup. So thank you, Chuck.
Always my pleasure, Adam. Sorry that you're going through it.
And next to Adam, it's Chuck Joyner. Hello, mate. Thank you. He takes his lunch hours to come and do this show, and I piss around for nearly an hour while he watches and helplessly can't help, unfortunately. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing good. I feel bad for you, Ewan, because we've all been there struggling through that, and I admire your perseverance.
Oy vey, my life. Jesus. I keep telling you, I get closed clams in restaurants. It's you don't want to be me. And last but by no means least, our man in Germany who's allegedly getting Apple Pay this week.
I don't think so.
Nah, not happening.
Yeah.
So it's because everyone put that in the Slack room and they were like, yeah, it's definitely happening. There's no question it's happening. And you're like, nah, I'm calling BS on that straight away.
Yep.
And then lo and behold, it is utter BS.
Yeah. I didn't expect anything like this to happen. The Philippines haven't gotten Apple Pay yet, so it's not our time.
So when Carl Swagger gets it, then you're happy.
Exactly. Then we will be next.
Yeah, so you'll be after the Philippines.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was a bit vicious of them, though, because they really got... they didn't get your hopes up, because, like I said, you called BS on it almost instantly, so well done, mate, for cutting through that horrors. What's been happening, what's been going on in the Apple world? I guess we've got to start with estimations of when we're getting iOS 11 and when we're getting... Watch 4 and when we're getting a keynote, because that's what we're saying, September 11th, September 12th. Anyone have any dates?
12th is a Tuesday.
Is that going to be your favourite then? Do you think they're a Tuesday firm now or a Monday firm?
No, I think Tuesday is a better day, and I just for some reason I just think it's going to be my proper birthday present.
So when is your birthday exactly?
12th.
Righto. So we're reckoning that it's going to be on the 12th, and we're going to do a live show where we're all going to sing happy birthday to you, royalty free from Warner Brothers, the bastards, and we're going to get brand new kit, allegedly.
Allegedly. It's funny is, I guess the iPhone and the iOS 11 and the OS are semi-automatic, for that second and third week of September for such a long time that part is normal. I'm actually kind of happy yet pissed off about the Apple TV possible 4K launch, because I literally just bought 2 brand new Apple TVs, the four brick models, because I wanted HomeKit for my lock. And I specifically did it because I knew that during my surgery time, I was going to have people coming to drop off things and pick up things that I, rushed to get done, knowing I would be out for 2 weeks. And then so with the Apple TV and my Slage Sense, don't screw up my German, Patrice. I could, with the Apple TV, I could open it from up here. Like I could be in my house, and then when the UPS man comes, I could just open the door and then close the door. And you need the Apple TV to be the hub for that. So I just bought them, and then they're like, okay, yeah, maybe September we're going to drop 4Ks. I'm like, you bastards, because I have all 4K TVs.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of bandwidth in 4K, isn't there? That's the trouble.
Yeah.
There's a huge amount.
Well, it depends. I mean, with H.265 or HEVC, it's way less than it was before. But I mean, even with your connection, for example, in the office, you could easily stream 4K. It wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, no, I've got 80 down and 20 up here in the new office, and it's great. But the problem I've got is, and this is the real big issue, I've got 500 gig limit. I can't.
That might be an issue.
Yeah, no, that's serious shit. And you've all frozen on video, by the way.
What they're doing though is they're offering a lot of the companies are toll free for certain services. You know what I mean? So they're making these deals where it's you don't get the bandwidth count if you're using certain apps. Like I know AT&T did that for us for the phone.
I pretty much think that WarwickNet are going to give me balls to the wall, and they're going to take every frigging kilobyte out of me, and probably a few I haven't used as well. Just throwing that out there is probably my gut feeling. Hang on, I'll restart just a second.
Yep. Unless I look like everybody in Connecticut.
Drinking and painkillers is a route to pretending you're a seagull and jumping off a building.
It sounds like a rock star.
It does, yeah. It's a Keith Moon moment, isn't it? You're going to drive a Rolls Royce into a swimming pool. You're gonna find the only Rolls Royce that's available in your area and take it into a swimming pool. We're back. Sorry about that. Everything froze. What a week! What a week. We're getting HomePod. Definite dates for that. Is that going to be sold out like hotcakes and no one's going to get one?
Yeah. The rumor was they'll have about 500,000 units ready to go at launch.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
What? Have they got nanas knitting their outside cover or something with needles?
Yeah, probably.
When was 500,000 of those ever going to be enough?
It wasn't. It's just all they can. It's all they can get made in December.
In December?
Yeah, that's when the launch is supposed to be, right?
Well, let's talk about the economies of Apple's super good marketing, because at one point making 500,000 of something would be like, wow, that's kind of brave. What makes you so arrogant to think you could sell 500,000? Now that 500,000 is going to last about 5 minutes.
Well, now I'd go along with you, Doc, if it wasn't for the fact that, and there is a problem, I agree, with tooling up to sell or to manufacture, 5 million items, and then you're worrying that at some point it's going to go horribly wrong and you're going to have 4.5 million items left on your stock inventory. But you'd have thought Apple had passed that now. I mean,
there's going to be
no doubt.
But I mean, I suppose it's a new line. Fair enough.
There's going to be a lot of rain checks under the Christmas tree this year, just like a receipt. Like, I ordered this; it'll be here sometime next year.
Christmas next year.
Check.
Yeah, I'm with Doc though. I think that the marketing is out there. It's amazing. These things take time to produce. And I hear people, some people have said, and pretty diehard people, Apple people have said, well, I've already got a Sonos, I've already got this, I've already got that. I really don't need this, and I don't need a HomeKit hub. And okay, fine, but I'm kind of surprised at how positively the HomePod has been received in so many arenas.
Yeah, I mean, just remember the last launch like this, which was the Apple Watch. People said, well, I already have my fitness tracker, I already have a watch. But it was back ordered, I think, till, what was it, September or something, August, something like that. So they launched it in April, or they started shipping it in April, and it was back ordered till September, basically.
What happens is, I think what happens is, you have those of us, well, we kind of pre-check, right? We all say, okay, I'm going to get it. Like, I literally have my 350 cornered earmark. It got stolen from me this week and properly returned. But I have it like sitting there ready to go. But I think what happens is, initially in the watch, I was like, maybe. And then when everybody started going, oh crap, they're selling out, I was like, holy shit. So I jumped on and I got one. So I think that could happen too. You're going to have people that are all poo-pooey about it, maybe in the very beginning. But once the, YouTube reviews and the other proper sites, the normal handful, start talking about how good it is, then there'll be an even faster rush. And so what normally probably going to happen is they get theirs like 2 or 3 days ahead of time. And once they do their, Rene Ritchie impression, all of a sudden you want one, even if you thought you weren't going to get one. I think I was kind of like that with the watch at first.
Yeah.
This is part of the marketing. And Apple has learned that scarcity is actually really good for the brand. Yeah, some people in the press are going to kind of negative ding them. But overall, it ends up just creating this massive hype, and people pile on. So, and they'll catch up in a month or two. It's like they're just not ramping up as early anymore, I don't think. And they did run into several issues on several fronts this time around. I think the OLED constraints in production is part of that, although that doesn't affect the HomePod.
You have
does.
to.
It has OLED on top, Samsung.
You have to remember one thing.
No, it
ramping
has an
up,
LED matrix.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay, go on.
You have to remember one thing. Ramping up for a new product is not easy. I mean, just look at Tesla. I mean, how long it took them to ramp up production for any of their cars. And I mean, even Apple, with all the people and all the money and everything, it's simply, there are issues with production that you have to iron out, and simply takes time. And I think that you should factor that in, and that limits the amount of products that you can produce, because at the beginning the yield will be low, so you're throwing away a lot of the parts that you're producing, and slowly you ramp it up to whatever level that you want. And I think the other part that we shouldn't forget is, most of the production capacity is very likely right now taken up by the iPhone. So I'm actually pretty sure.
And Patrice is gone.
Just to comment on what he was saying about the iPhone production, though, iPhone numbers, I think it was Ming-Chi Kuo was even saying, I would have to go back to my notes, but something like 5 to 6 million or 4 to 5 million available at launch of the iPhone 8. And on a typical launch weekend, Apple will sell, in the past, 12 million units.
Yeah.
12 million pre-orders. So, I mean, that just gives you a sense of how constrained all this stuff is going to be. Like, it is going to be, if we thought in the past that they sold out fast, everything's just going to sell out. It's going to be worse than the AirPods, I think, for both the HomePod and the iPhone this year. And again, I don't think that all that's negative. I mean, for Apple, it's going to be good from a marketing standpoint, and especially with the HomePod, I think they're better off erring on the side of not having enough, and then figuring out what demand is really going to be, and then ramping up production to meet that, so that they're not overproducing.
Great point from Paul Dixon in the chat room. He's saying, AirPods have been out a year nearly, and you're still expecting 2 to 3 weeks to shipping on them at best.
Right.
So, and there's still some people that are pushing out to 6 weeks for them still after the thing.
But
current
sales
numbers in the US
aren't
is 2
slowing.
weeks.
The current issue is 2 weeks. So 2 weeks for a product, for an electronics product.
But still, that's crazy.
I've got Amazon, and I go on Amazon, and it's delivered to my door 2 hours later for most of the stuff that I want. I can't believe that in a modern environment you can actually justify a 2 to 3 week run on a product that was clearly popular and clearly in demand,
Yeah, but you're talking about a manufacturing issue versus delivery issue, Ewan. I mean, the Amazon stuff is warehoused.
To deliver. That's my point. Is that there's no one holding any stock of these things ready to deliver.
Right.
So that at launch, there's a bit of me like, well, okay, look, I know it's popular. I know there's lots of units. It does feel a little bit more contrived than that. It feels like they're not actually putting enough units out, and it's like they're almost deliberately underestimating demand to a higher degree than they would be before.
I think part of it is cutting costs.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, you've got a whole inventory of stock, which is, the millions of items is warehouses full, isn't it? Yeah, and that costs money. Fair point.
Yeah. I think the other hard part too is it's easy to believe that Apple would play the type of games of let me make it scarce so that people want it, so then I could actually end up selling more in the long run. I think playing that game is super hard. Playing that game is also super dangerous because the next quote unquote thing will come right out after it and sweep it out from under the feet. And now granted, Apple does have its sort of diehard, people, but it's kind of crazy for two reasons. And one is if Apple had produced enough of these suckers that you could roll into the store and just get one without any problems whatsoever, and they sold 10 million in like the first month, basically on day 31, there'd be all of these reports like, oh, Apple's not selling freaking headphones because,
I don't think it is that. I don't think
you know what I'm saying? Like, they're kind of screwed either way. So if they do really well, there's not enough and everyone's mad. If they do really good, then Apple finally released the shit product.
Yeah, I don't think that's it. I think what they're doing is the fact of there is a cost, as Madam says, to your logistics operation that has to hold stock. But I think also that you stockpile 6 million units on a 12 million delivery. Those units are all going to disappear at some point. So you actually only need stock for a short space of time. So you go out and you find temporary stock storage. And there's a ton of that out there. There is the unit behind me. The guy is saying, right, okay, I'm going to hire that out for 3 months. Someone's going to store some stuff in, then it's going to be gone, and then that's the end of it. There's loads of that out there. But the problem is that Apple can't do that because they would lose so much inventory in the process that the theft would probably negate the benefit of it. So maybe that's why they do it. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate and throw out a reason why it possibly could, but I think it can't hold stock.
You're right about that. I think that's a good one. But the thing is, it's funny that so many people really do believe that they do stupid stuff like, oh, I'm going to hold back inventory just so that I can make it more popular so I can sell more. That's a super hard game to play at scale. Right, we're talking Apple scale is so different from normal people's scale. That's super hard to do at scale, and you probably still could have inventory loss too, doing the same stupid stuff. So,
to back up the warehousing thing, look at how Apple's been shipping to customers and to retail for the last, I don't know how many years. It's from factory to customer or factory to store.
Yeah, with the exception of the initial. With the exception of the initial shipping, usually the day they release a new product, you see that it's coming from a warehouse somewhere. So they are definitely pre-producing.
All my products for the last, I don't know how many launches have come straight from the factory in China.
Mm.
But isn't that a
make an
hallmark
example. The iPad Pro I bought, the first one was shipped from a storage or a distribution center here in the Czech Republic in Prague. And the replacement one they shipped 2 weeks later came straight from China.
I just thought there that maybe this was a German thing, but I just got a sense there that you owned Prague there for a minute. Germany owned Prague from here in Prague. As in, there's an annexation going on with Prague that they don't know about. Sorry, Chuck, you were going to say something, mate.
No, that though has sort of been a hallmark of Tim Cook before he became CEO of Apple. That it was the just-in-time marketing, and I'm with Adam. I can't speak for my iPhones, but I know any laptop I've purchased or anything else, I can usually watch the shipping go from China, to Alaska, then drop down into the States, somewhere in the continental states, somewhere else. It just. And it takes time to bake a cake. It takes time to make these quality events, quality products. Pardon me.
Yeah, but the MacBooks are somewhat special because they're usually built to order things.
That's a fair point.
the baselines are sometimes in stock, but the higher tiers are built to order.
Yeah, I am less. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm less intolerant of the MacBook delays than I am of the launch product delays on things like the phone and so on, because they do know what the demand is likely to be, and they don't choose to fulfill it. And I think there's a lot of reasons why that are logistics based. That we sit and look at it in a microcosm of why haven't I got my frigging iPhone, when actually Tim's wrestling with an awful lot more issues relating to cost and to just in time storage.
And they just have they have so many suppliers and components that they're dealing with that, like, any disruption in any one of those pieces, I mean, it's just got to be a nightmare. I can't imagine, the scale and scope. I don't think anybody can. There's very few companies that have to deal with what Apple is dealing with at this level.
Yeah, I mean, just look at all the Kickstarter projects that do hardware and struggle with the production. Yes, Apple has it. Probably it's easier for Apple because they are bigger and can probably negotiate better. But at the end of the day, it's hardware and it's a lot of moving parts, and everything has to fit together.
That's a great point, Patrice. How many Kickstarter projects have any of you backed that came on time?
Zero.
Very few.
Exactly.
The other thing on the components too is Apple is a huge stickler for quality. So sometimes people will try to argue and point to other companies who are able to pull it off, but they're willing to accept lower quality components. Apple, from everything that I've read, in many cases only accepts about 60% of what a lot of their vendors create for them. They reject, for a lot of at least core components, about 40% of what's produced.
Yeah. And that is usually after quality control of the vendor. So after the vendors said this is okay and we can sell that.
Right.
Yeah, that's the point. We've lost Chuck's video, but I'm struggling to get it back, mate. I promise.
That's okay. It's a great picture of me, you and I really like that.
I'll just superimpose.
It reminds me of that wall cat with the swagging tail clock. I don't know if you guys remember this. But in the 80s, there was this cat clock. It looks exactly like the wagging tail cat clock.
Yeah. Paul Dixon in the chat room is saying he ordered a new iMac on Monday and it arrived yesterday from Ireland. So, as I said, Apple, at least in Europe, Apple is sometimes using distribution centers. There are, as far as I know, two. One is in Ireland and the other is in Czech Republic.
Which is now part of Germany. Sorry. A new Iowa data center for Apple has come out, and this isn't a real story that kind of enthralls me or enthuses me. I just thought it was a really cool story because the rendering that they've done of what it's going to look like looks like it was made in Microsoft Golf 2003. It does,
beautiful.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
There's like a little green at the front there and some texture. And then that's the clubhouse at the back. And then there's a little bit of trees on the right here. There's no water yet, but watch out for the road.
Yeah, Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that could be the latest version of Flight Simulator.
Oh, wow. That is so hilarious.
It is, though, isn't it? The texture is...
It is 100%.
So
and once you zoom in, buildings show up.
We should talk about Apple moving to the car as a service that I've been talking about for making more steps towards that. That's kind of what I'm excited about this week.
Yeah, go on then. Tell us about that, Adam, because I haven't watched much news, I have to say. I've been working too hard.
So, everybody kind of knows they've been working on this self-driving car system. More details have sort of come out, including a rumor saying that they're going to start deploying a little shuttle service, an automated shuttle service to take their employees from Infinite Loop, I think, over to the new campus and back and forth. And that, it's going to be the Palo Alto to Infinite Loop shuttle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I mean,
but
they're not the first to do that.
Apple beta testing car as a service on their own campus, in my opinion. And again, I think this is what it's all about, is they're looking to do a self-driving, systems for ultimately car as a service.
See, now
Yeah.
I've only had one trip out that way, but I got the impression that their campus is not their own roads. It looks like public roads. So are they going to just chuck a pile of money at Cupertino City Council and say, let us or else?
They already have approvals, I think, in California. I'd have to go back and check. But months back, they got approvals to do on-road testing.
Yeah, but only with specific cars. Basically, I think it was 4 cars, and they were even mentioned with license plates and make and model and everything.
Right. So they can expand that. But the point is like California has been pretty open to companies like Google and others getting approvals to actually do on the road testing, and especially if it's going to be in a limited sort of controlled area. I don't think they'd have too much trouble getting the approval. They are going to have to get it from several cities, though, because again, I think it's going from Palo Alto to Cupertino, and I can't remember how many cities that may run through.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know that there's a lot of America has got a vested interest in maintaining the car industry, because having the size of America, it is a car-based country. You can't go to the supermarket without getting a car. You can't go to any malls without getting in a car. You can't,
Right.
I having been to America for the first time, I instantly got why it had a car culture, because everything is so spread out compared to here. And the public service transport is just not as good as it is here, and ours is
It's
pretty
garbage.
shocking. Yeah, so, but it just feels a little bit like they're in danger of the autonomous car market running roughshod over health and safety sensibility and public liability, and also the kind of general accepted norms of what the public wants necessarily, most against what the city councils want to give, or are being coerced into giving. So
that pales in comparison, I think, to the battle they're going to face from the car industry, the insurance industry, and cities and state governments for loss of revenue, potentially.
I'm not so sure about the insurance industry, because they will make their money either way. I think it might actually make some sense for them, because if the cars are safer, then, well, they don't have to pay as much money. But yeah, for the car industry and government, it will be a big challenge.
Yeah.
Just
I'm
watching
saying,
the
if
local
people are
companies
registering
still fighting
fewer cars,
Uber.
that's less cash.
Yeah, no. I mean, but see, I understand where Patrice is coming from because of the payouts. The insurance companies only lose money on payouts.
Yeah.
They make a metric crap ton on ingest. So a lot of the people who have cars right now aren't going to give them up. The self-driving stuff, it plays in really well in cities where you never had a car. Okay, so let me wrap this around some brain cells. Up until I was, let's say, 17, the thought of even thinking about buying a car was a pie in the sky idea, because just in the East Coast, in DC and in New York proper, you just never thought about having a car. It was kind of sort of unnecessary. You didn't need it, because our P-Trans is amazing, right? You can get on a New York subway, and as long as you don't get killed, you can get anywhere across the island in like no time flat. So doing that and then moving to somewhere where a car was almost necessary, and the first jump for me was probably when I was stationed in Georgia for the Army training. Like, the next closest store from where we were basically 20 miles away if it wasn't on base. And like, I finally realized what it was like to have to get a car. So like, plans to buy a car was not even there. So I don't think the people who are used to that commuter life, like the Japan people, your New York people, your LA people, even like London, cities where you get around really, really well with just the taxis and the public transportation, their insurance companies and those businesses are going to make money. But I can see the municipalities and the cities getting pissed. And then here, I don't know if you guys heard anything, but in Hawaii, we've been building rail for about the last 3 or 4 years, and people are losing their minds because we've never taken on a project this big, and nobody understands that, yes, it's supposed to be close to $10 billion to to build an elevated rail system across an island floating in the middle of the ocean where you can't produce concrete, locally. But people are losing their mind. And yeah, so I just think that you're not going to get a lot of people who don't have a car now going out and buy a car if it drives itself. They're just going to use it from the service standpoint, and it's better suited in the service standpoint.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they're not going to be buying cars. They're going to be subscribing to a service where they get a car. And
I would do that.
Huh?
I would do that. I mean, I really don't need my car that much.
I read a piece recently, I think it was over at the Next Web, and there was a study by Intel who's been looking into it, and they predict that what they're calling the passenger economy is going to be a $7 trillion by 2050.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think people do want their own private space as well, don't they? So that's the point, is that's where autonomous vehicles will win over a bus or a mass transit system, is the fact that people want their own space.
Yeah.
They want some privacy, and they want to...
And it's faster. I mean, why are people using cabs? Because, I mean, you can get faster from, except for in London, but usually you can get faster from point A to point B than using public transport, and you have your own space.
And I'm not sure it's the own space thing. I think it's more the point to point. That public transportation. Okay, I have to go from point A to point B. Then the public transport will go from point B to point C, and then C to D is my ultimate destination. And that's where I think it breaks down. That's why I think Uber and Lyft and these have been so popular, because man, you can jump on those. And, they pick you up where you are. They take you where you want to go, and that's it.
Yeah,
the last mile problem.
I think a lot of it has to do with the culture of how you grew up and what you're accustomed to. So, like in Japan, like I know when my friends get here and they go to school here, they're blown away by the thought of actually needing a car. But then, of course, when they ride public transportation here with something they're so accustomed to being so good, and it's horrible, they're like, okay, yeah, I got to buy a car. They had never any thoughts of buying a car. And so a lot of it has to do with, if you're raised in a situation where you're used to leaving an hour early to get somewhere, the thought of leaving 5 minutes early to do the same thing kind of doesn't doesn't wear on you, because you don't know. But once you know it, once you feel it, it's super hard to go back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the other reason why I think Apple's primarily positioned to take advantage of this is a big part of this new passenger economy, and this was again pointed out in this Next Web article, is it's more about the experience and the service, right?
Yep.
Because once you're in that car, it doesn't have driver, it doesn't, you're going to have a lot more space to kind of move around, and then it's okay, what's the experience? How easy is it for me to use the service? How good is the service? So all of those things, and those are things that customer experiences are things, at least in the past, that Apple has really excelled at over a lot of their competitors. It's like building that seamless experience from ordering it on my iPhone, through getting in the car, through my music services following me, and entertainment services following me into the vehicle, getting my whatever data and information I want while I'm on that ride if I need to do work, and then once I arrive at the destination, handling all that stuff and payments and all those other things. So it's, and I mean, everything. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead, Adam.
I was just going to say, so everything's. I think Apple's primed more than some other companies to kind of leverage all that.
Yeah. I mean. And then, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. There is also the part what you do when you're, on board. Right now, if you drive with your family, I'm guessing you're driving. So you're preoccupied, and your family,
or my wife,
kind of doesn't get too much from you.
Right.
So if you have a self-driving car, you can all of a sudden you can really talk to each other and, watch a movie, or, however long it might take, you might do something with this time while you're sitting there and getting somewhere. And that is a completely different experience, and you have more options, because, there's no issue with distracting the driver at this point. There is no driver, so you can do whatever you want.
There are a lot of factors here that you got to figure out what your priority is. And someone in the chat room just said that where they are, public transportation can take 2 to 3 hours, whereas a drive time can be 15 to 30 minutes. And so, there's one premium, the speed.
Yeah.
Patrice makes a great point. If I could have somebody drive me places, that would be great because I could get more done while I'm driving. And then there's the personal space. There's the personal comfort. There's the personal music selections or video selections, if you could do that. There's just so many moving parts here trying to pin it. So many people and pundits want to try to pin it down to one thing or two things. It's much more complex than that.
Yeah, I mean, it takes me about 5-6 minutes to get to the office. With public transport here, it would take me about an hour. So that's why I'm not doing it.
And what would it be if you cycled, say, or?
15 minutes. So I'm either driving or cycling.
Yeah, and you do cycle. I know you do. I wasn't.
Yeah, I do.
So, yeah. Oh well. Will or Apple do the autonomous vehicle? Probably.
They're working on it. The fact that they're putting their own vehicles on the road just says to me, and again, it goes all back to the Didi Chung, thing. And I'm with you, Ewan. I don't know that Americans will be the first to jump on it, but a place like China is like primed to sort of launch and develop that service and then roll it out as other countries are sort of ready for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there is definitely some interest also in the US and in other countries. Just look at how well received overall Tesla's autopilot is, and that's not even fully autonomous. But yeah, I think China has definitely a bigger potential.
Yeah, Americans like their cars. There is a really embedded car culture here, and there will always be people who will be like, you are never going to take driving away from me. I mean, some people really, it's like the way they relax. Not for me, but I recognize that there's certain people that they just like driving.
Yeah,
that's me. I'm like that.
Interesting comment in the chat room. I would love a self-driving car, Bob Beach. I would love a self-driving car. I don't want someone to drive me. So there's another factor that there's someone that is comfortable with the tech, but they don't want the human at the wheel.
Right.
I think that there's a real king's new clothes though with autonomous vehicles, because I think people in their head have got it that they can do other things, and they can't. They've got to watch carefully while the car drives, otherwise they're going to end up with a liability for it. And that's where I think people will switch off from autonomous vehicles once they're out there if they're not careful. And that's where regulation's got to be careful, because regulation is you're going to get the first instance where someone dies in a car accident or someone knocks someone over in a car accident, and they're going to say, well, what were you doing? Well, I was reading Tom Clancy. And they're kind of like, well, you can't do that. You've got to drive the car. Well, why did I buy a self-driving car if I've still got to drive the frigging car? But the problem is, you are not going to get away from driving the car. You're going to have to still supervise the car while it's driving. And that may reduce the load on you, but you aren't going to be doing other stuff.
Well, to a certain level. I mean, there are those 5 levels of autonomy. And I mean, the goal is to get to a fully level 5 autonomous car. And that's what all companies are working on. That being said, we are working on it, or companies are working on it. I think what you said is probably going to happen in the meantime, because we will not get the full thing.
No, but that's what kills it, because people are going to go, why did I buy an autonomous car if I've still got to drive it? The only thing you're going to sell is level 5 autonomy, in your words. You're not selling level 3 autonomy. Level 3 autonomy is just a gimmick, and people are going to go, I'm pissed off with it. I wanted a car because I didn't want to have to do that. So you've either got to have level 5 autonomy, in your words, or you've got to have nothing, because and you have got to get regulation and government to accept level 5 autonomy, and that's really hard unless you're filching fivers in someone's back pocket.
Well, definitely is
or unless it is so much better, so much safer, and the government basically accepts that and says, okay, it is in the best interest of the public to do that. But this is a long way. I'm pretty sure this. I mean, it's not the technical things. I'm pretty sure we can sort out in the next 2 or 3 years probably. But those issues, really regulatory, insurance, and even changing people's minds, that will be hard. There are quite some good examples where people are actually using the autonomous part of the autopilot of Tesla and are pretty happy with it. Even in the UK, driving from, I think it was something London to somewhere northern part of Scotland, and it's working. So, and people are still saying it is better than, because they can relax a little bit more. They have to pay attention still, and they have to even keep the hands on the wheels, but they can relax.
It's good.
Okay, so let me help you here. I drove, and there's you guys will see this on my Instagram a little while ago. I drove a 2017 Volvo S90, which is I believe it's level 3 or level 4 autonomous. I'm not sure what the levels are, but I can tell you what my experience was. When get to the freeway and I got brave enough to turn that thing on, I was blown away by how good it was. I thought it was going to be shitty. So I'm sitting there like a tense grand. I got my hands at the top of the wheel, but not on the wheel. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking forward, I'm paying attention. And then out of nowhere, some idiot in a lorry cuts right in front of me. And the car makes a small little beep, a little thing on the side. And it says on the heads up, which is on the glass, it says, "We are making an adjustment to speed. Don't be alarmed." And then it just totally backed itself off. And when the lorry starts going faster, and it starts going faster, it kept the perfect distance. It has a 360 camera on the top. So the 360 camera is watching all the lanes at the same time. And it's freaking incredible. So I still was tense because I didn't know how well to trust it. But the guy, my friend who owns the Volvo dealership here, told me they actually offer a protection when you get the car that if your auto driving thing has an accident, they'll completely replace the car. They trust their shit that much. That's part of Volvo's deal. And in theory, from what I understand, the Tesla one is even better than the Volvo one.
Will they pay for the lawsuit for all the people that the car killed?
No, that's what they're saying. I'm not even trying to be funny here. That's what they're saying. They think that the IntelliSafe is better at reacting than we are. So they're willing
I
to
agree.
actually.
Just personally, I was just throwing that out there. I wasn't trying to be flippant, but I think that is one of the concerns, right? Is what happens when one of these things crashes and maybe kills somebody. And it's going to happen.
You got to understand, these guys got the money to take care of it, but they actually have a thing that they're going to go fully gasless and fully autonomous by 2020. That's a bold statement when you got 2 years.
Right. No, I think it'll happen. And just to finish up my thing, about when these are going to crash, they are going to harm people, but I'm thoroughly convinced that that's going to happen at a substantially lower rate than humans crash and kill people.
Than we do now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got to prove that. That's the key, isn't it? But having had to go in Paul's car, who brought his Tesla up, it was impressive. It was very impressive, but I didn't trust it at all, even when Paul was doing it. And even he didn't really trust it, I don't think. And he said it was improving. He comes down in the morning, there's been an update overnight, that kind of stuff. But where it struggled, it wasn't the curb. It did the curb brilliantly. What it couldn't deal with was parked cars. And things that were obstructing. So if you had a curb with railings next to it, it struggled. It couldn't. That was where it really fell down. So we'll have to wait and see. Windrider in the chat room says, "I have a self-driving car already. I drive it myself."
Well, that's a choice you can make. Nobody is forcing you right now.
Yeah, Bronwyn says it's not a car culture, it's a control culture. The need to control your own movements yourself is what drives us. And she also said that in order to survive New York subway, you need to be Iron Man. I had a conversation with a taxi driver the other day, and I was talking about doing work on the rails and the fact that there's an electrification program. And he said, "Yeah, I don't know why they're doing that and getting rid of all the diesel trains." I'm like, "Because there won't be any diesel trains in 20 years, 30 years' time." I said, "You're not getting, the HS2 that's running from the full length of the country, that's being built because there won't be any airlines flying in 40 years. Network Rail looking 40 and 50 years down the line, not 3 and 5 years down the line." And I said, "Here's the thing for you. You're the same age as me. Your grandchildren will probably not eat fish that's caught in the sea. They'll eat farmed fish or no fish at all, because you're not going to get an electrically powered trawler, are you? In the current technology we've got. By 2020, there'll be electrically powered trawlers that go out on the high seas and men's lives are at risk if they break down. I don't think so. No one's developing the electric trawler, are they? So you won't be
yet.
You won't be eating. Your grandkids, Adam, will not eat fish that's caught in the sea unless it's off the end of a dock.
We'll see.
Maybe that's what they're going to do. They're going to make a massive pier building at the Apple Pier, the I Pier, and it's like 80 miles long, and you can go and fish off it so that you can get proper fish.
No, we will have electric drones that will get the fish for us.
Man, even better. We're going to have soylent fish.
Drone fishing, I think we have a title.
Yeah, why not?
It doesn't have a problem with farmed fish.
Well, you get disease then, don't you? That's the trouble, because they're all interbred and that kind of stuff, and everyone lays on everyone else's eggs and.
Man, the traditional old school bamboo pole guys are so mad that all the drone fishers that come, because the drone fishers are kicking their ass, but yet these guys, I mean, they're not going to go out and buy a drone. You know, you see the older men out at the piers here, they get super mad, but these people go out there with their like phantoms. And they fly over, they see exactly where the fish is. They have a remote control release. They drop the release. It lands in the water, like right in front of the fish. It doesn't scare the fish away. They turn around, they bite it, and the guys wheel it right back in. Drone fishing is
awesome.
huge in Hawaii. And it pisses the OGs off. Like, they hate it. You hear them cussing in every language. They're so mad. But to me, the tech side of drone fishing is amazing, but I can see where it can get out of hand. So what the old guy does is they sick DLNR, Department of Land and National Resources. They sick them on all those guys all the time, and just be like, well, make sure that they're carrying the license amount, like they're not overfishing or whatever. And these guys aren't overfishing, but they're out there for 10 minutes, and they walk away with a week's dinner, and OG is still putting his bait on the hook. It pisses them off so bad. It's so awesome.
Throwing a grenade in the sea. Throwing a grenade in the sea and just see what floats and keep it.
I'm waiting for one of these guys to try to throw something at the drones and knock them out of the sky. But when you watch the guys do it, bro, you'll be jaw dropped. It's so amazing. Just go do a YouTube search on drone fishing. You'll get the gist of it. And the guys here, they love it. Like, oh God, it's hilarious.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Because Hawaii water is super blue. It's super clear. Like, you can fly it from way out there, and you can see the bottom of the ocean until it gets to be about 200 feet deep.
Wow. That's
awesome.
Yeah. Got to go to Hawaii. Got to come and have a weekend drinking with Doc, except I'd probably die. I bet you're not taking that. You're not doing alcohol at the moment either, right? Because of the painkillers. So,
Dude, they told me 4 to 6 months of no drinking until after surgery, and I'm like, man, this shit sat in the barrel for 12 years already. I need to drink it.
What? You had the surgery?
Yeah, I had it.
I'd have told them to shove it up their arse.
That's what I said. But
they're like, for 6 months.
For proper healing, you can't drink for 4 to 6 months after, and I'm like, F that, bro.
I was taking the piss out of Don McAllister on Twitter yesterday because he's a vegetarian, I think, and he came out as, I don't want to be the boring vegetarian. I'm like, you're joking, a piece of steak with a char grilled fat rind, that's all I live for. The only thing that's left. Shit. What's the point of being here if you can't have a piece of beef with a charred rind on it?
Bro, you're telling me, look at my Instagram feed.
Exactly, roast meats and drinking.
Oh my God!
You were sat there in a hospital and they said you've got to give up drinking for 6 months. Oh, and by the way, you could do with losing a bit of weight. And you're like, call yourself a doctor. Adam, is there any more Apple news that I haven't covered that's worth covering?
No, I mean, not directly Apple news. The other big thing that happened this week that I know impacts a lot of people, myself included, is Crash Plan shutting down their home services.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't know if that's a specifically Mac story as such, but it's going to affect a lot of our listeners, isn't it? If it's a market they don't... this is the two-edged thing, isn't it? Because if it's a market they don't want to be in, you can't force them to stay in it. And they are saying they'll give you 75% off a year to try and ease the burden. The only sad part is that they're recommending bloody Carbonite, which is shit.
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
Which isn't even a full replacement. So.
No. I mean,
there really isn't a full replacement other than their business stuff, and their business stuff is it's more expensive. I mean, for me, because I was on a family plan, I'd be paying about $50 a year, no, $90 a year more. Which again, for really good online unlimited backup of multiple machines and NAS drives and attached storage, really isn't that much more to pay for the security of having that online backup.
Well,
so,
I don't know. I mean, I have a family plan. I don't know about you, but I would be paying about a month, about 4 or 5 times more. Not in the first year because of the 75% off, but I mean, from then on, it would be 4 or 5 times more. So
yeah, so
for me,
I switched to Backblaze like frick the Macworld before the last Macworld, and I never looked back. And the reason why I was so happy to jump off of CrashPlan used this Java-based thing.
Yeah,
and
they still do.
Java is for drinking. It's not for the computer. So I fired them eons ago.
It works fine. It got a lot better probably after you left. So.
The advantage of Java for me is it also works on Linux, and I have 2 Linux servers that are backed up to CrashPlan.
No, I know you're laughing, and I didn't mean that to sound the way that it sounded. But Katie Floyd went through I think the same experience and switched to Backblaze as well, and I stuck with them, and I've never had any issues with the app running in the background, and I use it on multiple machines. So it is Java, but it's fine.
There you go, Doc.
I have Java installed anyway.
You can blame Katie for it. So it wasn't a shit service after Katie left. Not after I left. You know, it was still good when I left.
So Patrice, you know how I get Backblaze to back up my Linux server because I have a Linux server, the Unraid thing. I have it, every once in a while. It sees my Unraid as the external backup.
Yeah.
So it just backs it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, because for $5 a month, it backs up your whole computer and all your externals. So on my machine downstairs, the 5K iMac, it actually has the computer backed up. It has 2 Drobos backed up, and it has a currently 12, but expandable to 120 something terabyte. Basically, let's call it a NAS server backed up, and it cost me $5 a month, bro. Like you guys are talking about $50 for like a half a gig. Screw that. That just doesn't make sense.
The thing is, it would need to run through my network because those servers are in a data center somewhere, and I don't think that's going to work, especially since I have also big amounts of data there.
This is part of the problem. Katie Floyd's workaround, because she had a network attached Drobo, and I asked her about it. She said what she ended up doing was just getting a massive USB hard drive, or you could do a USB direct connected RAID or whatever you want, and connected that and used ChronoSync to go from the NAS to that, and then just let Backblaze back up the locally connected thing.
Yeah.
So that would be the workaround, because that is the only thing that because I'm probably going to move to Backblaze, in case people are wondering, and it is a good deal. The only thing I worry about there is that if they get too many people and they get too much storage stuff, I question if $5 a month per person for unlimited storage is really sustainable. And I think that's
let me take that question
that's where CrashPlan. But let me finish this thought, because I think that's what CrashPlan ran into, is they realized that home consumers want to pay very little and they want a ton of storage, and it's just not a sustainable business. And so they said, look, our education, our government, and our business customers are much more amicable to paying reasonable rates, so we're going to stick with them, and we're going to drop the home stuff.
Okay, so and this conversation came up, and as a matter of fact, if I recall correctly, you guys were right there next to us. We were at one of the last Cirque du Max, and we were talking to Geb about, like, seriously, how sustainable in the long run is this $5 a month thing. And that's where the famous lore of, Backblaze being blackballed from all of the Costco's in the Bay Area, and, having people from all around the country send them drives. That's how that became so famous, because he refused to change the price at a moment when he technically could have, and nobody would have blinked. And that was right after the Southeast Asia tsunami took out all of the hard drive manufacturing, and hard drives were just next to super hard to get. He had every opportunity at that point to change the price, and he refused to do so. He says, I'm just not going to do it. And there's a couple other things that happened since that drink fest we had. And, he refuses to do it. So there's drive prices are only getting cheaper, and data prices are only getting cheaper. So in reality, I don't see how these guys come up with the excuse that it's not sustainable anymore. Their cost is actually going down.
Yeah, I remember it was the last Macworld where I was there, and he mentioned actually that the drive prices are going down faster than the storage needs of the users are going up.
Right, right.
I don't know how that can be possible. I mean, my storage needs just keep going up astronomically, and when Apple starts making me, starts letting me download 4K, videos, and I know it's going to have the new compression and stuff like that, but for me, I mean, I just more and more terabytes of data, and that's actually, again, teasing a little bit more, but part of my whole backup recovery problem, a big hassle in all of that has been just the sheer volume of data that I have to deal with.
You're talking to a bloke here who's got around 60 terabytes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the point.
Stills.
But even casual users, even other users with better video or better cameras on their iPhones, photo storage is unbelievable.
I cannot for the life of me understand stuff going in the cloud, because I've got too much of it for a start, so they wouldn't, the amount I pay would be stupid, and also I just cannot have the risk of someone going, sorry. So I'd rather just have duplicate backups and a third one off-site, job done.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to cloud, you can't just do everything. I know people that do, and you can technically, but you're much better off if you can selectively go, okay, this is the stuff that I really need up in the cloud. Like if you're backing your operating system and all your apps up to the cloud, why? Or there's a lot of stuff that can be excluded or left out, and that's what I tend to do. So I look like, okay, my photo library, yes, all my videos that I ripped, yes, I absolutely want those backed up, but some of this other stuff doesn't have to go there.
For example, I back up a lot of things, not everything. I mean, as you had apps and operating systems, not. But a lot of other things I will back up to. I mean, I have it in my own cloud server, and then I have another app offsite backup, simply because for me it's the easiest way to access it from everywhere, and I really actually regularly use that. So for me it makes sense, but it's not everything. I still keep things local because, if they are lost, who cares?
Question from Windrider here. So when High Sierra arrives, do I update to the new file system or stick with the current setup? I hear
you don't get a choice.
Well, he said he hears there's a choice, so there is no choice.
For the developers, there was one. I don't know how the final version will look like.
There you go. Bad luck, Windrider. Yes,
I would use the new file system for sure.
So would I.
I've used
so
it
much better.
Yeah.
I had one issue. The one of the latest updates broke the machine, and the only installer I could use was another beta installer. I couldn't even go back because none of the other installers will detect the disk because it's a new file system. I could have just erased it and it would have worked, but I just wanted to have a proper install on top of it.
But before you do it, back up.
Yes.
Have two or three backups to make sure before you do that. I mean, that's just obvious.
The point I would say to everybody here and everybody probably who listens to this podcast, which one of you would use a 30-year-old piece of technology right now? And your file system is that. It's a 30-year-old piece of technology.
Oh, we're using a lot of old technology.
Yeah, but that makes it sound like it's a 30-year-old piece of technology which has been neglected round the back with an old Ford Model T. I mean, it has been nurtured and developed, mate, be fair.
Yeah, but again, it's you're missing a lot of really good modern technologies that other file systems have that we have not had for a very long time. And it's time to move on. And I mean, for all of those reasons, especially if you're using solid state, which most new Macs are, the new operating system is going to be much better, or the new file system is going to be much better for you.
Yeah.
And to your point, I kind of agree with you. That's the way it sounds. So you can also look at it that it's been maintained and nurtured. You can also look at it that it's been patched on and repaired, this has been stuck on to make sure it works. So new system all the way.
And that's what Apple is actually saying. They are saying, yes, HFS Plus was cool and good, and it worked the longest time. But we had to add on so many things, and it wasn't designed for that. At this point, it was better to create something new, something that's more also tailored to the current hardware, than just trying to patch and fix and keep on going with what we have been doing the last 30 years.
Yeah,
and just to clarify, because Windrider is mentioning that the iMac, I think, is being referred to as a Fusion drive. It's not just better just for SSDs. I mean, it's just better all the way around. I didn't mean to imply that, only if you had an SSD would you want the new file system.
But it's optimized for SSDs.
Yeah.
I just think that, when you think about it, like, I just bought 3 8-terabyte drives for $179 a piece. Like, that's just incredible, bro.
It is.
Like, I threw away some 250 megabyte Matrox drives that have been sitting around for a while. They still work, but they're just scary to have data on it. So I just moved that stuff into the Unraid and threw the drives away. And I know for a fact I probably paid close to $1,000 a piece for those things when they first came out. And like,
I paid £700 for my 8 terabyte Western Digitals, and they're beautiful. Don't get me wrong, I love them to bits, but
yeah, drive price is just getting super, super, super cheap right now. So it's at the point where I told my friends, when you go to the Costco to buy the backup drive, buy 2, and they go, well, why do I need 2? I go, you need a backup for the backup, and they look at me like I'm crazy. But the ones that listen are pretty okay, and the ones that don't, they're like, I just bought this backup drive, it doesn't work. I go, yeah, I told you.
Or it gets stolen or anything like that.
Yeah, that's the worst one, is when they like leave it somewhere or had it ripped out of my friend's car.
Yeah.
Magic Man's asking how far back will the new file system go with older Macs and technologies, as far as it will be supported. So I can't remember I'm trying to remember what the cutoff is, but basically anything that runs, I think you can be certain anything that runs Sierra right now is going to run High Sierra. I'm pretty sure.
Fair enough. Excellent, thank you. Right, do you remember we ran a spider competition?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Richard Cook won it. But Richard Cook clearly is not a listener, because he hasn't claimed his prize. He's got 7 days until the next Mac show to claim his prize, and then I'm going to give it to someone else. So the first spider's gone, so it's going to go to someone else. If you don't can claim for it, Richard Cook. Okay, I'll do the same thing on the big show later on tonight. Richard Cook, you've got to claim your prize. You've got to be a listener. You've got to write in and go, I claim your prize. Here's my address. Send it to me. Otherwise, I'm going to give it to someone else, mate. Bad luck. Yeah, you missed out, Mal. You missed out. Watch out. And then next week, we've got another giveaway of another spider to give. And then we've got another one after that. So there's 3 spiders being given away, which is awesome. Thank you to UK2 for their support as well. We do appreciate everything that they do for us. If you want anything for the web, domain names, VPS, VPN, location services, all that kind of stuff, they've got some massive deals on SSDs at the moment, cloud SSDs, and they are blisteringly fast. SSD cloud storage, well worth having, up to 1 terabyte if you want it, which isn't bad at all. Check them out. Go to britishtechnetwork.com/UK2 if you want to sign into your account, or /sponsors if you want all the offer codes. And last but by no means least, do you remember me talking about Uniku? Now, I don't know if you've watched it on the feed, but I posted a video yesterday of Mark fitting me for Uniku at Wrexham the other week. I'm getting my Uniku glasses in 2 weeks at an event that Hoyer are running at one of their suppliers. It is a brilliant piece of technology. It scans your face, it puts the lenses exactly where they need to be for your vision, and then it makes the frames to go around them and tells Materialise, who are on the continent, to manufacture the frames to fit where the lenses need to be. And Mark came out with a great example while we were there. He said, like you go to the opticians and you say, I want a couple of pairs of glasses. I'll have one that's kind of like a bit of a staid businessy pair, and then I'm going to have another one that are a bit more funky that I can wear at the weekends. And he said, everybody you talk to who does that says that they've got one pair of glasses that make their eyes feel more comfortable than the other. And that's because the frames are set, and then the compromise is manufacturing the lenses to make the best job that they possibly can of it, but not accurately. And you'll never get 2 pairs of glasses the same that have got different frames. But with Uniku, you can have two pairs of glasses, two completely different styles of frames and two completely different looking frames, but the lenses will be in exactly the same location. That's where the technology is based. It's user-centric. So good luck to them. We've got an event on the 8th with Hoya that we're going to, and then I'm speaking at one of their launch events on the 16th, which I don't think they've worked out what they've let themselves in for there. Watch this space. There is a video on the feeds if you want watching me getting fitted and a bit more information about how it works. It's time for the cool thing. Here we go. Starting us off. Top left. .rock. Go for it, mate. What you got?
All right. So this is crazy how I found this, but I'm in love with it so far. I have been compliments of the new podcast and stuff like that. I've been messing around with Adobe Audition and Logic a lot. And one of the things that I've quickly come to my senses is that I kind of need a touch-based controller. So in the process of looking for all these touch-based controllers, something that would give me a little bit more control over working the sliders for your compression and your equalization and stuff like that, I ran into something known as a Behringer X Touch. Now, this brother does not come super cheap, but there's a point to it, so hold your thought. Basically, X Touch is like a $450 mixer that basically gives you touch sensitive controls to things that you map into in Adobe Audition. Okay, so in the process of looking at it, I was like, well, maybe I can find something a little cheaper because I only have a handful of things that I play with. And, you know, part of it is compression, part of it is expansion, part of it is EQ, part of it is, you know, just leveling and stuff like that. Anybody who does audio, you know what I'm talking about. So then somebody says, oh, you should take a look at this thing called the Behringer X Touch Mini. I was like, okay, perfect. That guy's only $50. Right?
Doc's posting links if you're wondering what the tings are.
Yeah. I'm posting because my IRC thing doesn't work and I don't feel like playing with it right now. So anyway, in the process of playing with this, I discovered a neat little trick. So here's my actual pick. You need to buy yourself a Behringer X Touch Mini for $50, and then you need to go to this piece of software that is called MIDI to LR, or MIDI to Lightroom.
Right.
What this thing does is it allows you to map the little knobby knobs on this controller or the bigger version of the controller to your exposure, your clarity, your vibrance, to whatever, right? And there's 4 shift banks. So this dude has 3, 6, 9 knobs times the 4 shift banks times a bunch of the quick access. So you can literally map hundreds of Lightroom controls to this thing. All right. And then it seemed super gimmicky until I literally just processed about 250 pictures in about at least half the time by being able to do everything using this little controller thing. So I bought it from B&H. I had it, shipped in, and you set up MIDI to LR. It already knows that this thing is, because it's super popular. Do a couple YouTube videos on it, you'll see it. It's super popular. You can already get the pre-mappings all set up, and then you make your own customs. And literally going through photos is so easy, because you even use the one button for next and one buttons for grading, and you're just turning the little knobs. But having tactile control over Lightroom sliders is freaking mind-blowing. It is the most fun you'll ever have editing pictures, Ewan, and I know you go through a lot, so just trust me.
So you've blown me mind there, because you started off putting an audio device in there, and I'm looking at it going, it's an audio device, okay, and then you started talking about doing pictures, and I'm like, what?
That's exactly what happened to me. So
you've got to bear in mind, mate, I don't listen to this show.
No, I went to go buy something for an audio device because I wanted to do the audio, and then when I found out that you could do Lightroom with it too, it was easy to justify the purchase. I'm at the point now where I actually want a second mini, so having the 2 smaller minis at $100 would give me all the functionality for Lightroom, because I think I need a little bit more buttons for Lightroom, and I would still be able to use it from an audio kit too, because that's what it's originally designed for. And then because of the way they work, they also map perfectly well with my DJ software. So outside of the MIDI to LR, there's another one just called MIDI to Control. You can set it to do up to almost any of the software in your whole computer. Any software in your computer where being able to turn a dial rather than try to adjust an adjustment with your mouse, you can map this to, because OS 10 has MIDI all built in. So the skies are the limit. This in the hands of somebody like Brett, and we won't see that dude for a month, and then there'll be some other crazy app out there, like you're running scripts by twirling knobs. But you would just trust me on it. Like I'm willing to bet you a bottle of whiskey. You buy this in the MIDI for $50, and you download this plugin, and you start doing photos with it.
So you only need to buy the X Mini at 55 quid off Amazon, and then you can do all the editing with that.
Yep. I still might give in and buy this big sucker just because I think it would look better when the clients and shit roll in when I'm doing my audio stuff. And, in audio gear, part of the people coming in your room is just like, seeing all of the whiz bang knobs and shit. It makes you look cooler. So I still might buy the big one, but man,
I show all my customers my knob.
And you have 9 knobs?
Well, no, another guy does, which makes me feel inferior. But
But you've seen the DaVinci controller, right? Inside the big editing rooms where it's like the 4 red balls. Have you seen that before?
4 red balls and 9 knobs all in one room.
Oh God, you got to be killing me. In the base, there's something known as DaVinci controller, the real DaVinci controller, not the software. It's like almost $100,000, and it has all of that for color correcting and stuff. So this does work in video gear, by the way. You can use this in Final Cut, but yeah, just trust me. You and just try it, and then if you hate it, you return it and tell me that I'm retarded.
Okay. Sold. I just love the fact that we're going to put a show title out for the Mac show which says 4 red balls and 9 knobs, and everyone's going to go, oh, Jeff Gamet was on. Adam, you've got a sensible pick. No knobs, no balls.
I mentioned that I was having some backup drive issues and things like that. And so in the process of that, I needed to get some new hard drives, and I needed to move data around, and I needed to do some troubleshooting and stuff like that. And I thought, I've got just what I need. And I went to grab my thing for hooking up SATA drives to my Mac, and it was this, which was awesome.
Yeah, I had one of those
back in the day. But this is the newer tech Universal 2.0 drive adapter. Well, I don't want USB 2.0, so I'm like, I need to upgrade. So I went to my favorite company, Anker, however you want to say it, and picked up one of these. They're let me get the name of this thing right, because their naming is awesome.
USB 3 and eSATA.
USB 3.0 and eSATA to SATA hard drive docking station. So despite the name, this thing's awesome. It was about $35 US on Amazon. It's got the little drive slot on the top. It's, one of these little drive toaster things, and you can plug in a 2.5 or the 3.5 inch SATA drive. It's got an eSATA or USB 3 connector on the back. It mounts up on your Mac. Straightforward, but just a handy little piece of kit to have around. And I just needed an upgrade. So, and I love Anker, and they make great stuff. So
totally, I've got an Initech one of those, and it's the best thing I've got, definitely, because I just love to drop the drives in constantly. Yeah.
So I'll use it beyond this now that I have one. I've been wanting one for a while, so it gave me an excuse to get one. And again, it was like 1 day shipping on Amazon, so I had it like the next day.
Awesome.
Free shipping. So. Yeah, the Anker USB 3.0 and eSATA to SATA hard drive docking station. The only thing that I did notice, and I just noticed this now, is, and I'm going to need to look into this a little bit more, it does say on the bottom 4 terabyte hard drives. So there may be a limit on how large a drive, but I was only dealing with 4 terabyte drives. So I don't know if that's a firmware thing. Sometimes it's just you need an update of firmware from like the manufacturer or something like that. And I do see they have a firmware tool. So I don't know if that's a hard limit at this point, or if it can just get a little update.
No SCSI connector.
It has eSATA.
That'll do.
Yeah.
If Dr. Happy Mac was here, he'd want SCSI or nothing.
I did have to. I have an old FireWire Drobo, so I did have to use this little guy, the FireWire 800 to Thunderbolt adapter.
I've got a Mac. Of course, I used an adapter. What else?
Yep.
Patrice, what have you got for us, mate?
I'm going to pick something that is at least vaguely related to Doc's pick. That's a iOS podcast editing app or audio editing app called Ferrite. I recently just wanted, I don't know why, record an episode of my Casual Kitchen podcast on my iPad. I don't know how this happened, but I just wanted to do it. So I was looking for an app. Usually I would use Audition, but that's not on iOS. So I was looking for something to, I mean, it's a very simple editing job. It's just chopping off the beginning and the end, dropping in the intro and the outro, and that's basically it. So it's not hard. And I discovered Ferrite. The app itself is there is a free version that I think allows you to record up until I think an hour of podcast or hour of audio recording with I think 3 channels. And I think if you want to do editing, the longest project it supports with a free version is I think 10 minutes. If you want more, there's an in-app purchase. It's not that expensive. I think it's 20 euros or 20 pounds probably. And then you get the full version with multi-track editing and multi-channel recording and all of that. So it's pretty cool. I think it was also recommended by Federico Vitici, for example. So a couple of people who are recording podcasts with the iPad, or at least looking at it, they recommended that. So it's pretty cool, pretty easy to use. Well designed, simple enough, and it did the job quite well. So, kind of had to recommend that.
Excellent, mate. Thumbs up from Adam as well. He's saying Ferrite's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. If you want to know more about it, Jason Snell has written a bunch of great articles about it. He's doing a lot of iPad podcasting on his 6 Colors blog. He has a section. And then I just did an interview with Tim Chatton, who is a longtime podcaster who's been around in our Mac community. He's doing the iPad Pro podcast, and he's doing all of his recording, even doing production for other podcasts, all on the iPad. So,
dude, the funniest things ever was back in the day. Tim and I used to try to do dueling podcasts behind each other because we shared an office together for a minute, right? He moved out to Hawaii and he worked with me in my co-working space. And so Steve and I would be doing one podcast on one side of the room. He's on the other side, and we're trying not to be in each other's way. It was pretty funny. So it's cool I heard that part of that, Adam talking about the what he's doing with the iPad and everything. I thought that was interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's cool. And Chuck, what have you got for us, mate?
Well, I'm going to sort of cycle back to an earlier part of the discussion because I finally, after a 6 or 7 week wait, got my AirPods. Ooh. And I have to tell you, I have a box in the basement with all my Apple EarPods. I hate the EarPods. And the only reason I decided to go this route was just to try them. I held onto the box. I held onto the receipt because I knew I was going to return them. No question about it. And I put them in for one day, and that was it. I'm sold. They fit me great, and the Apple EarPods do not, but the AirPods stay in my ears with no trouble. They're very comfortable. They sound great. But for me, most important is the fact that I spend way too much time on the phone. And I'm one of those guys that everybody likes to hate on because I always had a Bluetooth earpiece in my ear. And these are so much better than every Bluetooth earpiece. Both what I'm hearing and everybody else on the outside tells me what they're getting back from me. They can't believe that, they want to know what I've purchased because they know it's different. They also, you can use it one for each ear. So if I spend too much time on the phone with one ear, I just put these back in the charging case, pull the other one out, put it in the other ear, and keep on going. They are. I can't say enough good things about these. So if they take 6 or 7 weeks, hey, fine. They are worth the wait. And if you haven't tried them, give them a try because I absolutely love it. The other thing too is the case. I don't know how many of you have seen these other little charging cases that come with some Bluetooth earpieces. But they're not fun to put in your pocket. They stick you. You feel like you're always going to bend something. This completely protects the earpods. It's like a giant pill case that goes in your pocket. No problems at all. So it's just one more example of how well when Apple sets out to do something, they really do it right. I know there's still people out there that say these don't fit their ears, and I appreciate that because I have very difficult ears to fit. But these do for me, and so if you're in the market, check it out. One last thing, I have not tried some of the other Bluetooth earphones like these, the AirPods competitors. I'd love to, but it's going to be hard to get these away from me.
You sound like the BBC. Other earpods are available.
Well, maybe so, but not this. Until I find something better, I'm sticking with this. And all my Bluetooth earpieces are in storage. I still hate the Apple EarPods, but the AirPods, man, fantastic.
Yeah.
The only thing I can say is,
Agreed.
and I don't know if you can agree with this, is when you're on phone call using those, I find I really want to hear myself back a little bit because I'm sure I'm actually talking louder than I need to, and that was a problem with the original phones. They deliberately gave you ear feedback so that you lowered your voice because you didn't need to shout, and everyone was shouting. And so when I do the show, I can hear myself through this instantly, luckily, not delayed, but that helps me monitor my own sound level when I'm talking, and you need that on a phone, and it doesn't do it with the AirPods, and they really do need to do that. There needs to be a little feedback loop that just gives you an understanding of your own volume, but that's the only criticism I can come up with for them. I love them apart from that.
Yeah. I love the fact that you picked them up, put them in your ear.
The only other criticism I would have is they are very easy to forget somewhere. Happened to me a couple of times. I simply, because they are so small and unobtrusive, I left them in my car, in the office, on the table, and so on. So, yeah, you have to keep track of your stuff.
That doesn't count. All right.
No, it doesn't count. It definitely doesn't count.
That doesn't count. You know why? You know why it doesn't count, Patrice? And I'm sorry, but all everyone talked about in the beginning was how you're going to lose them, how you're going to lose them, how you're going to lose them. And I was like, it's not our fault if you're a grown-ass person, you're an irresponsible twat. But leaving them in your car, your office, that's not losing them, that doesn't count. So I just don't want you to say that because I don't want people to be like, see, even Patrice said they're easy to lose. No, losing is irresponsible. Forgetting them somewhere, that's just old age.
They're easy to misplace is probably, I do it all the time.
The fun thing was with Find My iPhone, I was even able to keep track of them. I just looked at the app and it told me, okay, they're in the office. I said, okay, all right.
But there's one other thing too. I was not enamored with the fact that they were white until I started to use them, and now I find it's a lot easier to find a white earpiece.
The last 2 weeks in the USA, you come with that shit. Sorry, I had to.
Yeah, never mind.
That thing that Ewan has that makes them fit in your ear.
Good point, Chuck.
Mine are
agree.
Perfect, but I just think that little bit of more security, like the thing that Ewan has, I kind of want that.
Yeah, me too.
You need big ears for that, though. You've got to have big lug holes to get that thing together.
I have big
but they're
ears.
Brilliant. They're awesome. Mine always go straight back in the case and then straight in my pocket. So, if you're a white supremacist, then clearly AirPods are for you.
I'm ready for, just on the Where to Store 'Em thing, I'm ready for the winter to come back because when I wear my jeans, they go right in the fifth pocket of my Levi's. They fit perfect.
Dude, you're not keeping up. Winter is here, bro. You're not keeping up with GOT?
Nope.
As endorsed by the Grand Master of the Ku Klux Klan. AirPods.
Oh, boy.
There was a great joke the other day. Frankie Boyle told it at the Edinburgh Festival, and he said the people that are comparing Trump to Hitler are laughable. There's no way Trump could write a book.
Yes.
There you go.
So true.
There you go. I would definitely hate to say it. I'm pretty sure that Adolf was just a tad bit smarter.
Before we get into that territory, we're going to stop the podcast right there. Sorry for all the issues, but it wouldn't be BTM without it. Doc, where can we get a hold of you, pal?
So, of course, you did that right when I had to take a drink. Anyway, you can find me all over the internet at DOCROCK. And if you're interested in just my weird ramblings instead of talking about tech, just like life ramblings, you can check out solid.fm. The podcast is The Solid Podcast.
Thanks, mate. Adam, where are you, sir?
You can find me over at MacCast.com, MacCast on Twitter, and pretty much every place else. And also every once in a while on the iOS show when we can get a show together. Seems like all my podcasts have been delayed recently, but I think things are getting back on track.
So, there we go. Patrice, where are you, mate?
Well, every week here on the Mac Show, I also have a couple of podcasts, especially my Casual Kitchen podcast that you can find at casualkitchen.net. I try to keep up with that a little bit more now, and everything I do on thepatrice.com.
And I owe Chuck Joyner a massive apology, because when we were having trouble setting up right at the start, he said to me, "Oh, yeah, work are great, don't worry." I couldn't wander in like 2 hours and get away with it, which was 2 hours and 11 minutes ago.
Yeah. No problem.
So sorry, man. Blame me. Just tell him it was my fault.
No problem. No problem.
Oh,
you can find me over at macvoices.com, and I'm on Twitter as @ChuckJoyner and also as @MacVoices.
Excellent, mate. So sorry. Thank you. We're back. We're back for the normal running now into the winter. We'll be here Friday nights, 4 p.m. for the Mac Show, 8 p.m. for the Big Show. Big Show's back at 8 p.m. And we'll see you then. Thanks for listening. Sorry we missed you. We did miss you, honest.